The birth of religion. The beautiful flowers of the forest with their many colored petals, nodding their heads, jumping, leaping, playing with every breeze. The beautiful birds with their gorgeous plumage, their sweet songs echoing through every forest glade. They were there yesterday, my solace, my companions, and today they are gone. Where? My playmates, the companions of my joys and sorrows, my pleasures and pastime, they also are gone. Where? Those that nursed me when I was a child, who all through their lives had but one thought for me, that of doing everything for me, they also are gone. Everyone, everything is gone, is going, and will go. Where do they go? This was the question that pressed for an answer in the mind of the primitive man. Why so, you may ask? Did he not see everything decomposed, reduced to dust before him? Why should he have troubled his head at all about where they went? To the primitive man, everything is living in the first place, and to him, death in the sense of annihilation has no meaning at all. People come to him, go away, and come again. Sometimes they go away and do not come. Therefore, in the most ancient language of the world, death is always expressed by some sort of going. This is the beginning of religion. Thus, the primitive man was searching everywhere for a solution of his difficulty. Where do they all go? There is the morning sun radiant in his glory, bringing light and warmth and joy to a sleeping world. Slowly he travels, and alas, he also disappears. Down, down below. But the next day he appears again, glorious, beautiful. And there is the lotus, that wonderful flower in the Nile, the Indus, and the Tigris, the birthplaces of civilization, opening in the morning as the solar rays strike its closed petals, and with the waning sun shutting up again. Some were there then who came and went and got up from their graves revivified. This was the first solution. The sun and the lotus are therefore the chief symbols in the most ancient religions. Why these symbols? Because abstract thought, whatever that be, when expressed, is bound to come clad in visible, tangible, gross garments. This is the law. The idea of the passing out as not out of existence but in it had to be expressed only as a change, a momentary transformation, and reflexively, that object which strikes the senses and goes vibrating to the mind and calls up a new idea is bound to be taken up as the support, the nucleus round which the new idea spreads itself for an expression. And so the sun and the lotus were the first symbols. There are deep holes everywhere, so dark and so dismal. Down is all dark and frightful. Under water we cannot see, open our eyes though we may. Up is light, all light, even at night the beautiful starry hosts shedding their light. Where do they go then, those I love? Not certainly down in the dark, dark place, but up, above in the realm of everlasting light. That required a new symbol. Here is the fire with its glowing, wonderful tongues of flame, eating up a forest in a short time, cooking the food, giving warmth, and driving wild animals away. This life giving, life saving fire. And then the flames, they all go upwards, never downwards. Here then was another, this fire that carries them upwards to the places of light, the connecting link between us and those that have passed over to the regions of light. Thou, Ignis, begins the oldest human record, our messenger to the bright ones. So they put food and drink and whatever they thought would be pleasing to these bright ones into the fire. This was the beginning of sacrifice. So far, the first question was solved, at least as far as to satisfy the needs of these primitive men. Then came the other question. Whence has all this come? Why did it not come first? Because we remember a sudden change more. Happiness, joy, addition, enjoyment make not such a deep impression on our mind as unhappiness, sorrow, and subtraction. Our nature is joy, enjoyment, pleasure, and happiness. Anything that violently breaks it makes a deeper impression than the natural course. So the problem of death was the first to be solved as the great disturber. Then, with more advancement, came the other question whence they came. Everything that lives moves. We move. Our will moves our limbs. Our limbs manufacture forms under the control of our will. Everything then that moved had a will in it as the motor, to the man child of ancient times as it is to the child man of the present day. The wind has a will, the cloud, the whole of nature is full of separate wills, minds, and souls. They are creating all this just as we manufacture many things. They, the Devas, the Elohims, are the creators of all this. Now, in the meanwhile, society was growing up. In society, there was the king. Why not among the bright ones, the Elohims? Therefore, there was a supreme Deva, an Elohim Yahweh, God of gods, the one God who by his single will has created all this, even the bright ones. But as he has appointed different stars and planets, so he has appointed different devas or angels to preside over different functions of nature, some over death, some over birth, etc. One supreme being, supreme by being infinitely more powerful than the rest, is the common conception in the two great sources of all religions, the Aryan and Semitic races. But here the Aryans take a new start, a grand deviation. Their God was not only a supreme being, but he was the Dios Peter, the Father in heaven. This is the beginning of love. The Semitic God is only a thunderer, only the terrible one, the mighty Lord of hosts. To all these, the Aryan added a new idea, that of a father. And the divergence becomes more and more obvious all through further progress, which in fact stopped at this place in the Semitic branch of the human race. The God of the Semitic is not to be seen, nay, it is death to see him. The God of the Aryan cannot only be seen, but he is the goal of being. The one aim of life is to see him. The Semitic obeys his King of Kings for fear of punishment and keeps his commandments. The Aryan loves his father, and further on he adds mother, his friend. And love me, love my dog, they say. So each one of his creatures should be loved because they are his. To the Semitic, this life is an outpost where we are posted to test our fidelity. To the Aryan, this life is on the way to our goal. To the Semitic, if we do our duty well, we shall have an ever joyful home in heaven. To the Aryan, that home is God himself. To the Semitic, serving God is a means to an end, namely the pay, which is joy and enjoyment. To the Aryan, enjoyment, misery, everything is a means, and the end is God. The Semitic worships God to go to heaven. The Aryan rejects heaven to go to God. In short, this is the main difference. The aim and end of the Aryan life is to see God, to see the face of the Beloved, because without him he cannot live. Without thy presence, the sun, the moon, and the stars lose their light.